are not held so that there may be people to attend the Cursillo, but the Cursillos are held so that there may be people to attend group reunion, and that the Cursillo is best means that we know of for putting the soul at the necessary level to begin to make a group reunion. You got to read that over a couple of times because it really sinks in after you read it a little bit. So what is friendship group reunion? Well, one definition is a small group of Cursistas that meet weekly to share with each other their walk with Christ and to grow in friendship and grace. Matthew 18:20. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. There are 3 basic steps to friendship group reunion. These are sharing your piety, study, and action with your group. Like the 3-legged stool that you saw on your weekend, the stool is only useful if all 3 legs are in place. So the friendship group reunion should always begin with a prayer to the Holy Spirit. It is the Holy Spirit that brings our sharing and friendship from a natural to a supernatural level. Number 1, in our group reunion, the first thing that we share is our piety. We share how we have nourished our living union with Christ. Each member of the group will share their life of piety from the past week, asking the question, what spiritual aids helped me nurture my union with Christ this week? This is not to be a checklist of how many times you accomplished each item on the list. It should be a joyful sharing of your connection to God during this past week. This sharing may help you and other group members realize their successes and failures and the possibilities to improve their own faith life. The second part of piety is the question, what moment did you feel closest to Christ? This is when we share with the group when we were most aware of Christ's presence, the moment from the past week that we felt closest to Jesus. In my friendship group, we call this our God moment. Number 2, the second section of the group union sheet is our life of study. We share how we have come to know Christ better and how that knowledge has helped us to develop a more Christian mentality. Once again, we share not just what we are reading or listening to, but rather how what we have read or heard about God helped us know him better. We want to share how our study aided us in putting on the mind of Christ and how we changed or reacted as a result. You don't just share the name of the book you have read or something that you have heard or seen, but how it brought you closer to God and helped you to better understand what he was trying to tell you or lead you to. Number 3, and finally, we share our action, our efforts as apostles. How we have attempted to live out our vocation to be authentic apostles and leaders in our environment. Apostolic action is a natural overflow of our piety and study. In order to get a complete view of our apostolic activity, we divide it into successes and failures. Success will be the apostolic activity which came out like you planned, even beyond your greatest expectations. These successes bring us joy, inspire the other friendship group members, and make us aware of the Holy Spirit working through us. But remember, the terms success and failure are not theological, but psychological. Only God determines what apostolic action will bring someone closer or from him. Something that I might think is a failure to be the seed planted now for a success further down the road. I would like to clarify that what we say each week in sharing our attempts at action is not necessarily a final result of bringing someone closer to Christ, but rather a small step in following our apostolic plan. This might take a while to accomplish, moving slowly through the make a friend, be a friend, and bring that friend to Christ. You might share with your group each week as you progress through these stages. An apostolic failure is something that doesn't come out as we would have liked, when the seed seems to fall on rocky ground. But sometimes that rocky ground loosens up, and either ourselves or others can irrigate and harvest. The important thing then is not having successes or failures, but working with God as his apostles. We also need to watch that our failure does not come from laziness or dropping the ball. In that case, it is not the failure of the apostolic plan, but the failure of the apostle. What was begun in the name of the Lord must not be left undone, so you will need to review the present state of previous plans. The ideals of the friendship group that occurred during the week among all the members of the group become evident in the reunion. We then share our plans for the coming week. But this plan, one group member is acting, the others are praying for God's will in that action. You make your group aware of your plan, and they will be praying that you not only carry it out, but that the outcome is a positive. Grouping then ends with the Lord's Prayer for those that were not able to meet with you this week, and for those members that may not have fulfilled their commitments. In my friendship group, we also ask if anyone is in need of prayer or a specific, then we all pray a prayer of thanksgiving. Now I'm going to explain some important characteristics of a successful union that are necessary for it to be what it is intended to be. The first one is regularity. The Cursillo method is once a week. Sometimes that is not possible, and you need to work that out with those in your friendship group. Our spiritual needs need to be nourishment regularly. Friendship group reunion has to be a priority in your life, and it has to be fulfilling your spiritual needs, or you will not follow through. And I guarantee that if you are not grouping, the world will step in and fill that space. One of the problems that happens when all the members of the friendship group are not present is that something that was shared the week before has to be shared again so that those that are not there are up to speed. This can really be a problem for those that were there and heard the story the first time. I have found that if the group is working, the members will not want to miss a meeting. Sometimes, if several members of the group cannot make it on our regular night, we will meet on a different night that week so that everyone can be there. The next is seriousness. Group reunion is not a social hour. This is the place to share your spiritual journey, not the latest church gossip or what happened on your favorite TV show. Not treating your group with respect of their time and effort to be there with small talk and gossip will kill a group faster than anything. The next is confidentiality. This is extremely important. What is shared in group stays in group. You cannot share openly and honestly if you feel that something you have said in group is going to be shared with others outside of the group. I can't stress enough how important this is. The next is sincerity. Authentic relationships can only be built on a foundation of truth. At times, you will have dry spells and will have nothing to share. In my group, we just say that we are in the desert and everyone understands because they have all been there at some point. Your group will understand and encourage you. Never stay home because you don't have anything to share. You may be there because you need to gain something from what someone else is sharing. And next week, you may have something to share that one of your group members needs to hear. Now I'm going to touch on a few points that are important to friendship group success. Where you group. Your group should meet somewhere that you can have a private discussion without the chance of eavesdropping by others. Though I have heard of some great evangelization moments that have occurred with someone overhearing a group discussion. Some groups meet in homes, some in restaurants. My group met at our church library until the pandemic, and we were unable to meet there. We are now meeting in a restaurant, but if you do this, try to finish your meal before starting to group, so there are no distractions, and ask to sit in an out-of-the-way area. Meeting somewhere neutral without food or alcohol can also help keep your group from turning social. How you group. Some groups will start with piety, go around the group, then study, around the group, then action. Others will let each group member do all three before moving to the next person. This needs to be decided by the friendship group as to how you will share. The Pilgrim's Guide is set up for weekly sharing. Try to keep your sharing to the week, or if you are meeting bi-weekly, unless you are following up something that you had shared in a previous week. Try not to just share a checklist of everything that you have done in your spiritual life, but how those things have affected or changed you spiritually. What you share. The complaint that I hear and why groups for a 10-minute story told by a group member in great detail, ending with 15 seconds of where it fits into piety, study, or action, is not the proper way to share. Grouping is not a therapy session. I need my group to hold me accountable spiritually, and I don't want to jeopardize that by turning each meeting into something that is not meant to be. You need to think about what you are going to share and how much of the story that you need to share before you get to group. This is very difficult. These are your friends, and you want them to know every detail. But like I said, This is often the main reason that friendship groups break up. If you need to, you can bring a small clock and give each person an allotted time, but this should not have to happen. Try to remember that Jesus already knows the story. Your group members just need to know what the spiritual significance of that event is in your life. If you start to see group members making excuses for not showing up to group or dropping out, this is probably the reason. It is very helpful to jot down some notes during the week so that you don't forget something important. It is also a good idea, especially in friendship groups that have been together for a long time, to always have your Pilgrim's Guide and your friendship group reunion sheet with you to follow. This can help keep everyone on track. Unfortunately, there is also a need to be someone in the group that is good at pulling the group back if they get off track. Be thankful for that person. It is not an easy thing to do, but it will benefit the friendship group in the long run. Another situation that sometimes happens is that some group members may be more spiritually advanced than others. This may intimidate the less spiritually connected members. This may cause some members like they are not connecting. Finding a friendship group that you are comfortable in is the most important thing. I have found that grouping with not the same life as me works best for me. All of my group members are married, middle-aged working women with grown children. But let the Holy Spirit lead you in that. Sometimes grouping with women of different ages and backgrounds can be exactly what you need. Sometimes a young mother with children can benefit greatly from an older woman that has already raised her children and can share advice with the young mother. Keeping your group between 3 and 6 members is ideal. But I know of groups that have fewer than that and groups that have lots more than that, and they seem to be working. My group has an understanding that before we invite anyone to join our group, we all have to agree. At our local Otrea one evening, a woman approached me about joining my group. She had tried several friendship groups and they just had not been a good fit. I immediately felt God's prompting that she belonged in our group, but I told her that I would ask the rest of the group at our next meeting. Without hesitation, they agreed, and she has been grouping with us since then and has become one of my best friends. So be open to adding new people to your group. And if you have joined friendship groups that have not worked out, ask at the next Altrea or check with your sponsor to see if they can help you find one that fits. Or consider starting your own friendship group. It is also a good idea to regularly check with all the members of the group to make sure that the day, time, and location are still working for everyone. Next is when should you group? My group meets on Thursday nights at 6 o'clock at a local restaurant. I prefer to meet without food to be involved, but this is working right now. They also close at 8 o'clock, so that sets a time limit we sometimes really need. Young mothers and early risers may not be able to group in the evening. I know of a men's group that meets at McDonald's at lunchtime. That would never be enough time for women. We also use something we call parking lot. If we want to share the long version of the story with a friend or share something that doesn't fit into grouping, we can stay after the others leave or may end up in our car in the parking lot. Just make sure this doesn't turn into a gossip or complaint session. Lastly, I know of friendship groups that the women have been grouping together for years. They have seen each other through marriages, births, deaths of spouses and children, and everything in between. I know of friendship groups where the women go on retreats and even vacation together. The people in your group truly become as close and sometimes closer than family. I know that if I died today, my family members would not know the person that my Cursillo sisters might describe to them in remembering me. This movement has given me more authentic friends than I could ever have hoped for. And I know that those friendships will continue beyond this earthly life into eternity. One other thing, as I was looking over the list of candidates for the spring weekends, I noticed that all but 3 women and about half of the men were carryovers from previous years, some as far back as 2019. I understand the pandemic has a lot to do with that, but would we ever be able to have the spring weekends if we were counting on new people that were signed up this year? We need to stop waiting until the month before the weekend is held to make a friend, be a friend, and bring a friend to Christ. We need to start now planting the seed. I know people are busy, so the sooner you invite them on a weekend, especially since you will probably have to ask them more than once, the better chance you have of them accepting the invitation. Have the Cursillo What Is It booklet always with you. I really believe that the reason most people don't know about Cursillo is because they don't have any idea what it is or how to pronounce it. The Cursillo movement is so important to our Catholic faith and we are the apostles that Jesus has chosen to carry it on. De Colores.
Here I